Presented by Sweet Treats in Avon, the payroll department in Brownsburg, the Hendricks County Flyer, and XRBRadio.com, the voice of Hendricks County. Avon Orioles basketball is on the air. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the O-Arena at Avon High School, where tonight the Avon Orioles will begin Hoosier Crossroads Conference action as they welcome the Raiders from Harrison High School. My name's Brian Scott. Glad you can join us tonight for Avon varsity basketball. Avon on this very early part of the season with a record of 1-2. They have lost their last two contests, the last one being over the weekend against Pike. They fell by the score of 84-71. Pike's always been a tough matchup for the Orioles over the past few years, and last Saturday was no exception, but the Red Devils came away with the victory, sending the Orioles to their second straight defeat after winning their season opener against Plainfield back on November 24th. The Harrison Raiders, they come in with a record of 3-1 as Coach Mark Reinhardt, in his second year at the helm of the Raiders, has started to turn this program around a little bit, and it doesn't hurt any that he has 6 seniors playing on this squad, and 4 of them are in the starting lineup. For head coach Jason Young's Orioles, it's going to be a year of transition with only 3 seniors on the roster and not a whole lot of varsity minutes coming back from last year, or extensive varsity playing time, I should say. The loss of Austin Burgett and Dominic Blackman have meant that the Orioles are going to be switching some things up this year. Probably going to see a lot more perimeter play. They'll still be looking down low into getting the ball into the hands of Aaron Bodie, but this could be a year that the Orioles are really going to be concentrating on their perimeter game. Harrison comes in averaging a little under 51 points per game, and very good defensively in their 4 games. They are giving up just shy of 44 points, while Avon offensively, not a bad job. They're averaging a little over 61 points a game while giving up 53 points. Carter Van Wanzeel, the Orioles starting forward, he is leading the team in points, averaging just a little over 13 points per game. While the Harrison Raiders, Bobby Rogers, he leads the team with only 9.5 points, but this is a very, very balanced Harrison Raiders squad. They have 5 players averaging greater than 5 points per game, so they tend to distribute the ball very well, and they do a very, very good job of making sure that you don't have any one person that you have to lock down. You've got to guard all 5 players on the court at the time. Before we give you our starting lineups, let's have our national anthem played by the Avon Pep Band. As we have grown accustomed through over the years, another fine rendition of our national anthem being played here by the Avon Pep Band as we get ready for basketball tonight between the Avon Orioles and the Harrison Raiders. As I mentioned, Harrison comes into this contest with a record of 3-1. This is their officially their first Hoosier Crossroads Conference game, although they just finished a tournament there in Lafayette in which they played both against Lafayette, Jefferson, and McCutcheon. Neither of those games counted in the HCC standings. They defeated Lafayette Jefferson in the first game of that tournament 55-50. They fell to McCutcheon by the score of 50-44 before finishing it up against 3A West Lafayette in the consolation game and winning that game by the score of 53-44. The head coach of the Harrison Raiders in his second year is Mark Reinhardt. He has a record of 8-18. And the head coach of the Avon Orioles in his ninth year at the helm is Jason Young. He has a record of 98-77 with the Orioles and a record of 150 and 137 in his 12th season overall. Over the past 15 years, it's Avon with a decided advantage in this series. They have won 12 games with only one defeat. And the last time these two teams met last year, it was Avon rather comfortably the victor, 58-35. Let's give you our starting lineups tonight. First off, for the visiting Harrison Raiders, they will start four seniors on this in this starting five. Starting at a guard is a 5'10 senior, Bobby Rogers. At the other guard is a 6'3 senior, Mark Houston. At forward, a 6'1 senior, Cole Smith. The other forward is a 6'3 senior, Jacob Bauer. And at center, a 6'8 junior, Noah Thomas. So in the backcourt for the Raiders, it will be Rogers and Houston. And up front, Smith, Bauer, and Thomas. Those are your starting five for head coach Mark Reinhardt's Harrison Raiders. For Coach Jason Young's Avon Orioles, they will start a traditional two-guard, two forward, one center. At a guard is a 6-foot senior, Jordan Rhodes. At the other guard is a 6'4 junior, Connor Funkhauser. At forward, a 6'4 junior, Carter Van Wanswil. At other forward is a 6'4 junior, Levi Bailey. And at center, a 6'5 senior, Aaron Bodie. So once again, for Coach Young in the backcourt, it will be Rhodes and Funkhauser. And up front, Van Wanswil, Bailey, and Bodie. Those are your starting five for your Avon Orioles. Avon, of course, clad in the white as you are looking at them on your computer monitor. As we are about ready for basketball here, pull up a chair. Hope you enjoy tonight's game between the Orioles and the Raiders from the O-Arena at Avon High School. Players right now, center court, exchanging pleasantries as we get ready for some basketball here. As only about another week or so as the frequency of games, a big weekend of high school basketball in the state of Indiana this weekend, but things will start to fall off as the holidays approach. Jumping center will be Aaron Bodie for the Orioles. And jumping center for the Raiders will be Jacob Bauer. Ball is in the air, and the tip is controlled by your Orioles. And they will look over a Raider man-to-man defense. They nice feed down into the post as Levi Bailey finds Aaron Bodie all alone down in the low blocks. And Avon is quickly out in front here, 2-0 against Harrison. Harrison's first possession, and they will also face a man-to-man defense as they get the ball to Cole Smith and down over here into the corner to Jacob Bauer as they swing it around the perimeter. This is Bobby Rogers, their leading scorer. As I mentioned, they have 5 players that all can put some points on the board. Nobody with any particular you don't have anybody in double figures in scoring, double-digit scoring, but they can all put the ball in the cup, and it forces you to guard all 5 Raiders. The Orioles swinging around, get it in the hands of Connor Funkhauser, and Funkhauser just inside the arc buries the jumper, and Avon is out in front by the score of 4-0. Rogers will give the ball up to Bauer. Bauer trying to get it down into the corner to Mark Houston, and it's knocked away by Bodie, and we'll keep it down here in the Raider front court. Just underway, 6:48 left to go in this opening period, and Avon leads Harrison by the score of 4-0. This is Bobby Rogers with the basketball. He picks up his dribble as Harrison looks to move the ball around the perimeter. Down in the corner is Cole Smith with the basketball. Looks to make a move, but Funkhauser right there defensively. Rogers tries to make a move on Jordan Rhodes, and he is able to get that basketball up and get it in the hoop, and the Raiders have their first points of the night. They trail by a bucket. Funkhauser will move the ball around to Van Wanzel. Van Wanzel, the Orioles' leading scorer through this early part of the season. Here's a nice drive from the left wing, and going straight to the cup is Connor Funkhauser. He has his 4th point, and now we have our first whistle. The ball is poked out of bounds, I should say, and it'll be Raiders basketball as they'll take it out of bounds right in front of the Oriole bench. 6:05 left to go first quarter, a 6-2 Avon lead. Bobby Rogers with the basketball. He brings it down to the corner to Smith, guarded by Funkhauser. Gives it back to Rogers. Rogers, a little stop, and a little stop jumper is up, and it's good. And Rogers has his 4th point. It is the 4th Raider point. And the Oriole lead has been trimmed to a bucket at 6-4. Van Wanzel with the basketball. He will leave it off to Jordan Rhodes. Rhodes goes down, finds Aaron Bodie down in the post, but Aaron, in trying to make a move, shuffle the feet, and he will be called for traveling. Our first substitutions of the night as Jacob Payne and Taylor Snodgrass are in now for Harrison. Harrison trails by a bucket, looking to tie this basketball game up. Mark Houston gives it to Bobby Rogers. Rogers makes a move, makes the pass down the baseline, and the Raiders move it back around. Here's another drive. They lead it out. Here's Snodgrass. He has to kick it out. 3-ball on its way. It's short off the front of the rim by Jacob Bauer, and the Orioles have the rebound, and they quickly get it down into the post. They found Aaron Bodie. Bodie kicked it back out to Levi Bailey, but Bailey shuffles the feet. And the turnover will give the ball back to Harrison, trailing by 2 with 4:54 left to go in this opening period of play. First official HCC game for both teams as the Raiders work it down low in the post to Snodgrass, and now we have another whistle and another traveling violation, this time called against Harrison. Avon's first substitution as Sam Bloom now into the game as he will take over for Levi Bailey. Orioles with the basketball and a 2-point lead, 4:35 left to go in this first quarter as Funkhauser gets around a screen, kicks it left side to Jordan Rhodes. Rhodes down back to Bodie. Bodie will kick it back out, and the Orioles will move the basketball around. Bodie tries to drive, cut off, kicks it out. Here's Van Wanzel. He will kick it back out. Sam Bloom, little shot fake, little floater is no good, and going up for the rebound was Aaron Bodie, and we'll have our first foul of this contest called against Harrison. Foul will go on Jacob Bauer. That's his first, team first. As substitutions now as Bobby Rogers will head out. Zeb Halsema is now in for Harrison. Here's Aaron Bodie. He goes baseline, and they'll say that he was pushed by Harrison's. And we'll go against Taylor Snodgrass. Snodgrass, his first, team second, ball on the court. And finally the whistle will say a held ball, and the possession error will favor the Harrison Raiders. Cress Kimbrough now coming into the lineup for Coach Young's Orioles. Also set to enter is Brandon Peters. Jordan Rhodes will take a seat, as will Carter Van Wanzel. Avon with a 6-4 lead, just under halfway through this opening quarter of play here from the O-Arena at Avon. Glad you could join us for Orioles basketball on ASO Hendricks County Flyer and XRBRadio.com. Harrison works it down the low post. Nice feed, and Aaron Bodie thought he got all ball as Talon Snodgrath went up, but we're going to have the first foul called against the Orioles. And it will go against Aaron Bodie. That's his first, and it's going to send Snodgrath to the line. Snodgrath 2 of 2 on this young season from the free throw line, and will effectively jinx him right there, so he misses his first. One more for Snodgrath, and he misses them both. Bodie has the rebound, and the Orioles maintain a 2-point lead with 3:38 left to go first period. Kimbrough, right side, gets it over into the hands of Brandon Peters, and it'll go through Peters' hands out of bounds, and the turnover gives the ball back to Harrison. More substitutions as Noah Thomas is back in. He'll take over for Snodgrath. We remain at 6-4. Raiders have had a couple of chances to tie the game, have been unable to do so, and the Orioles have had a couple of chances to increase the lead, and they have been likewise unable to do so. Raiders look to move the basketball. Here's Jacob Payne. He will kick it out, and from about 12 foot out, the jumper is up and good by Noah Thomas. And I believe we are going to have a delay of game warning called against the Harrison Raiders. Thomas's bucket ties this game at 6 with 3:04 left to go first quarter. Kimbrough with the basketball goes left side. Dribbling now is Peters. Peters will kick it back out. Kimbrough, free throw line, throws it away. Looking for Peters, but Peters was over in the corner beyond the arc, and Kimbrough's pass sails out of bounds. Some full court pressure now applied by Avon as they do it, and then they will throw it away as getting caught on the sideline, I believe was Aiden Hannon. We will check that as we've got a number we had not anticipated. Either way, Avon has the basketball, trying to break a stalemate at 6. Peters up top to Kimbrough. Kimbrough drives, now loses the basketball, but it goes right in the hands of Aaron Bodie, who goes underneath. He finds Brandon Peters. Peters gets the bucket and will head to the line. Zeb Halzema will be called for his first personal foul, and going to the line to try to complete the three-point play is Brandon Peters, and he does just that. Orioles up by 3, 9-6. More pressure and a steal. This time stolen away by Sam Bloom, but this time he cannot convert, and the Raiders will look to bring it back the other way, trailing by 3 with 2:10 left to go first period. Harrison, Jacob Payne with the basketball. Cut off defensively, has to kick it back out, now gets the basketball back. Cutting through the lane was Halsema, but Payne unable to get him the basketball, trying to work down in the low post. And this time we'll have a kick ball as Sam Bloom will kick it away. Bobby Rogers will return to the lineup for Coach Mark Reinhardt. He will take over for Jacob Payne. 1:51 left to go first period. Avon with a 9-6 lead. The Raiders have the basketball. Raiders clad in the dark blue. As Zeb Halsema will trigger the inbounds pass, still looking, and he will finally get it in as Harrison will move it around. Both teams have stayed in a man-to-man to begin this contest as Rogers goes right side to Cole Smith. Back to Rogers, guarded closely by Jordan Rhodes. Smith, he's picked up by Sam Bloom. They feed it down low into the post. Good defense by Aaron Bodie as the shot's no good by Noah Thomas. And Avon quickly into the front court. Driving is Kimbrough, but his shot hits the bottom of the rim. And Noah Thomas has the rebound for the Raiders, trailing by 3 and 1:15 left to go in this first quarter. Raiders moving that ball around the perimeter. Now a good drive baseline. It goes high off the glass. Shot's no good by Cole Smith. And Bodie clears the rebound for the Orioles. Kimbrough trying to feed Jordan Rhodes. And the pass was a little bit behind Jordan. It'll go out of bounds. More substitutions as leaving is Halsema and returning is Jacob Bauer for the Raiders. Under a minute left to go, first period. Orioles with a 3-point lead. Bobby Rogers, left side, gets the ball into Cole Smith's hands, feeds it down low, cut off nicely. Bauer kicks it back out, and with a foot on the line, Cole Smith is able to get the bucket to trim the deficit to 1 for the Raiders, 9-8. Orioles have the basketball with a 1-point lead and will hold for the final shot. Rhodes to Kimbrough, left side. And off the foot of Peters, but right into the hands of Aaron Bodie. Bodie will give it to Rhodes. 15 seconds left to go, first quarter. Kimbrough now with the basketball. 10 seconds remain. Kimbrough makes a move, drives and slips. Not all Kressa's fault right there. He tried to plant a foot at the right elbow, and it just kind of slid on the floor. And he'll be called for steps, and the Raiders will have the ball with 6.4 seconds remaining, trailing by a point. Rogers to get it into the front court, gets through the defenders, lays it up off the glass, count the bucket. And at the buzzer, Harrison will have their first lead of this game as Bobby Rogers splits the defenders. And it's Harrison 10, Avon 9. We'll head to second quarter action right after this. This is Orioles basketball on Audio Sports Online. I'd like to thank our corporate video sponsor, the Hendricks County Flyer, as well as their title sponsor, Hendricks Regional Health. Thank you, Hendricks County Flyer, for allowing us to bring you Avon varsity basketball live on the web. Do you remember old-fashioned values, good food, and good times? Do you remember an ice cream cone on a warm summer's eve and a cherry Coke from the fountain at the corner at the corner drugstore? Well, Sweet Treats is a classic bakery and soda shop that does remember when. Serving delicious bakery and food items in Avon 6 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sweet Treats is located at US 36 and Dan Jones, right behind the CVS Pharmacy. Bring in a ticket stub from any Avon sporting event or mention that you heard this ad right here tonight on ASO and receive 10% off your next purchase. Stop in for a visit. Let Sweet Treats take you way back when. Brian Scott back at the O-Arena at Avon High School. Bobby Rogers with 6.4 seconds dribbles it through the Avon defense and is able to get a shot up off the glass and in the bucket. And Harrison has their first lead of this contest as they lead 10-9. As we begin quarter number 2, it is the Orioles with the basketball. Jordan Klein now in for Avon. Gets it to Aaron Bodie, and Avon moves the basketball around. Sam Bloom from the right elbow shot, nice looking jumper. And Sam will give the Orioles the lead back once again at 11-10. Harrison quickly gets it into the front court as they break the Oriole press nicely, and Mark Houston has the bucket as both teams exchange the lead. 12-11 in favor of Harrison as Klein trying to get the ball into the hands Brandon Peters, but it'll go off of Harrison, and we'll keep it down here in the Orioles' end. Peters will leave. Connor Funkhauser returns for your Orioles. They trail 12-11 with 7:20 left to go first half. Try to set up the lineups in just a moment. It is Jordan Rhodes, Jordan Klein, Connor Funkhauser, Sam Bloom, and Aaron Bodie. Those are your 5 Orioles. This is Bodie from right in front of the free throw line with a nice little right-handed runner. Aaron's got his second bucket. He's got 4 points, and the lead's back in the favor of the Orioles at 13-12. More full court pressure applied by Avon. Here comes Harrison, and driving and missing the shot was Taylor Snodgrath. Ball still loose, and it's finally corralled by Mark Houston of Harrison, and they'll set up the offense as Bobby Rogers has the ball. They try to get it down low, but there to intercept the pass was Aaron Bodie, and Avon comes back the other way. This is Funkhauser with the basketball. He feeds down low to Sam Bloom, and Sam wanted to make a little spin move there to go baseline. Instead, dribbled the ball off of his foot, and the turnover will give the ball back to the Harrison Raiders. Funkhauser leads, as does Sam Bloom, as Levi Bailey returns, as does Carter Van Wanzel. 13-12, Avon with the lead. Raiders with the basketball. Making a move in the post and then traveling as wanted to make one too many of those little jump steps was Taylor Snodgrath, and he'll be called for steps. Jordan Klein will bring it into the front court for Avon. He'll go left side into the hands of Jordan Rhodes. Rhodes around a Funkhauser screen, drives right side, and wanted to get the ball to wanted to get the ball to Levi Bailey down in the low post. But Bailey wasn't expecting the pass, and it's stolen away. And Bobby Rogers will finish it off at the other end with his 8th point and give the Raiders back the lead at 14-13. Klein feeds it down to Bailey. Bailey to Rhodes. Rhodes tried to get it to Van Wanzel, stolen away by the Raiders. Cole Smith. Smith will put the shot up, but they'll say the foul occurred before the shot, as it will go against Avon. Counter Funkhauser will get the foul call. That's his first. Only the second team foul against Avon, and we're going to have a timeout on the court. 5:39 left to go in this first half. Harrison leads Avon by the score of 14-13. You're watching Avon Oriole basketball on Audio Sports Online, the Hendricks County Flyer, and XRBRadio.com, the voice of Hendricks County. If you're a business owner with or without employees, you're probably wondering about your payroll. What about taxes, child support, auditing, Social Security? Well, it can be a bit overwhelming, but we've got the answer for you. The Payroll Department Incorporated. The Payroll Department Incorporated can help put your mind at ease where all these problems are concerned. Locally owned and operated for over 20 years. Call today at 852-2568 or stop by the Payroll Department Incorporated at 701 North Green Street in Brownsburg. Brian Scott back with you at the Arena at Brownsburg High School. Also want to remind you that you can tune in Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. for The Breakfast Show on XRBRadio.com. Shane Ray has all sorts of fun and merriment to take you through the morning. That's from 9 to 10 on XRBRadio.com. Harrison will take it out from the baseline as they trigger it in, and they get the ball into the hands of Noah Thomas. Thomas travels, as they say he shoveled his feet, as he looks over to Coach Reinhardt, and Reinhardt says you got to keep those feet steady. A lot of traveling calls early in this contest, and the Orioles will have the ball looking to retake the lead. Rhodes gets the ball to Funkhauser, down to Van Wanzel. Van Wanzel left side to Bailey to Klein. Back to Van Wanzel. Nice find by Van Wanzel. He finds Funkhauser, and they'll say it was knocked off of Jacob Bauer of the Raiders, and the Orioles will retain the possession. 14-13. Raiders with the lead with 5:17 left to go second quarter. Rhodes triggers the inbound to Van Wanzel. Drives, jump step, count the bucket, and put him on the line. Carter Van Wanzel with his first points. Noah Thomas with his first foul. 14th foul called against Harrison. And Van Wanzel is at the line to see if he can convert the three-point play, which he does. 3 points for Carter, and the Orioles' lead is back up to 2 at 16-14. Here comes Harrison. They've been doing a good job against this Oriole full-court pressure. They turned it over the first 2 times, but since then have gotten it into the front court rather easily. Here is Cole Reneker, and Reneker's going to be called for traveling. Well, the Raiders having all sorts of problems keeping their feet underneath them. As for, I believe, the third possession in a row, they've been called for traveling, and not a whole lot of argument from Coach Mark Reinhardt over there on the Raider bench. The Orioles will look to see if they can extend the lead. They've had chances to extend the lead earlier in the first quarter, and now we're going to have an offensive foul called on an illegal screen or a push-off. They'll call Levi Bailey with the foul. That's his first. 13th foul against Avon. So Harrison will have the basketball, looking to tie it up once again. They try to feed it into Thomas. Thomas almost lost it. Bailey with some good hands. Here is Rogers. He'll give it up. Cole Reniker with the basketball and back to Rogers. Rogers works on Klein. They'll kick it out. Here's a three ball that rims out by Cole Reniker, and the Orioles have the rebound. Funkhauser down on the court, but he gives it to Klein. Klein ends up hitting the deck as well, but we'll have a whistle, and the foul will go against Harrison. Jacob Payne will be called for his first. It is the 15th foul against Harrison. Levi Bailey will take a seat as Aaron Bodie back into the lineup for Coach Young. Van Wanzel triggers the inbound. He gets it to Bodie. Bodie runs into a double team, kicks it back out to Van Wanzel. Van Wanzel turns at the elbow, kicks it to Rhodes. Rhodes for three. Jordan Rhodes. Jordan Rhodes hits the three, and the lead's up to 5. And Harrison, though, comes right back aggressively driving to the cup as Noah Thomas. Thomas gets the bucket, and he will also be headed to the line. Jordan Klein will be called for his first 14th foul against Avon. As Thomas cannot convert the three-point play, and we're going to have a tie-up as Funkhauser got the rebound, but coming in is Cole Smith to tie him up. And the possession arrow favors the Raiders. Raiders trail by 3, 3:52 left to go in this first half. Halsma now back in for the Raiders. Will trigger the inbounds, and we're going to have a timeout called by Raider coach Mark Reinhardt, fearful that the Halsma was not going to be able to get it in before the 5-second count expired. So he calls the timeout. It occurs with 3:52 left to go in this first half of play. And it is Avon with a 19-16 lead over Harrison. You're watching Avon Oriole basketball on Audio Sports Online, the Hendricks County Flyer, and via xrbradio.com, the voice of Hendricks County. Out of the timeout, Jordan Rhodes, Jordan Klein, Connor Funkhauser, Carter Van Wanzel, and Aaron Bodie on the court for your Orioles. Meanwhile, Zeb Halsma, Jacob Payne, Noah Thomas, Cole Reniker, who has the basketball. He's cut off by Klein. And Cole Smith. This is Smith with the basketball. He gives it up. 12-foot jumper is no good by Thomas. And Orioles come away with the basketball. Van Wanzel tried to get it up to Klein, and the ball was ping-ponged away and back into the hands of Harrison. We remain at 19-16, 3:23 left to go first half. Driving in the lane, jump stop, passes it off. Another traveling violation. Well, Harrison having all sorts of problems, just simply not turning the ball over via the travel. And they will get Bobby Rogers back into this game. Taylor Snodgrath is also back in for the Raiders. Orioles with a 3-point lead, 3:07. Here's Carter Van Wanzel, baseline, runs right into the defense, loses the basketball, and picking it up over there off of the baseline was Cole Smith, but his backside was on the end line, and the ball will remain in the hands of the Orioles. Jack McHugh now into the contest for Avon. He'll trigger the inbound from the baseline, and he will give it to Funkhauser. Connor looks for some room, splits the defenders, and they will say he was fouled in the act of shooting, and that's going to send Connor to the free throw line. Zeb Halsema, that's his second personal, 16th foul against the Raiders. And Connor Funkhauser will go to the line to shoot a pair. Connor with 4 points, make it 5 as he hits the first of 2. More substitutions as Zeb Halsema will leave. Jacob Bauer will return for the Raiders. Coach Reinhardt likes to keep fresh players in there. He has been subbing rather freely. Funkhauser's second is good. He now has 6 points, and it's a 4-point Avon lead. 20-16, 2:52 left to go in the first half. Rogers with the basketball, guarded by Rhodes. Crossover, now gives it up left side. They feed it down into the low post. A little turnaround jump hook is no good by Bauer. Coming down to the rebound was Aaron Bodie, but they'll say as he came down, he shuffled the feet. And both coaches now starting to look a little surprised at the number of traveling calls, but be that as it may, Harrison has the basketball trailing by 4. And we'll have an offensive foul on the inbounds even before Harrison can get the inbounds play. Jacob Payne will be called for his second, 17th foul, though no free throws as it was an offensive foul, but the Orioles now in the bonus. Right side, Van Wanzeel, 4-3. Carter Van Wanzeel with 6 points. And it's the biggest lead of the night for Avon at 7, 23-16, 2:19 first half. Rogers with the basketball, guarded by Rhodes. He will give the basketball up to Payne. Payne in the lane, has it almost stripped. Now it finally is by Van Wanzeel. He'll give it to Rhodes. Rhodes doesn't have the numbers, kicks it out. 3 ball on its way. That one's too strong by McHugh. And the Raiders come away with a rebound. Bobby Rogers with the basketball. He will give it up. Jacob Bauer nowhere to go. Finally finds Rogers. Rogers will try to split the defenders. Going down was Funkhauser, but the whistle occurred before contact was made with Connor. And the foul's going to go against Carter Van Wanzeel. That's his first. It's the 15th foul against the Orioles, and a 75% free throw shooter, Bobby Rogers, is at the line, rolls it off of the front rim and drops. Jacob Payne will leave as Mark Houston re-enters the lineup for the Raiders. Meanwhile, Rogers with one more free throw. He sinks them both. He now has 10 points. And another substitution, Noah Thomas comes in for Taylor Snodgrass. 23-18, Avon with the basketball and the lead. As McHugh will dribble it up into the front court. 1:40 left to go first half. McHugh backs it out, finally finds Bodie. Back to McHugh. McHugh 4-3 off the side of the rim. Van Wanzeel gets the rebound. He is blocked as he was trying to put it back up by Jacob Bauer, but it'll go out of bounds off the Raiders, and the Orioles will maintain possession. They lead by 5 with 1:29 left to go first half as Jordan Rhodes gets the inbound, gives it to Funkhauser. Funkhauser finds Bodie. Little right-hander, scoop shot is no good. Rebound by Jacob Bauer of Harrison. Rogers quickly into the front court, but he'll bring it back as the Raiders don't have the numbers. Rogers looks, tries to lay it off, and instead throws it out of bounds as he laid it right on the baseline in front of Cole Smith, and the turnover gives the ball back to Avon. We remain at 23-18 with a minute left to go in this first half. Funkhauser with a basketball. Gets around a Bodie screen, left side to McHugh. McHugh down low to Aaron. Aaron turnaround jumper from 8 foot, no good. Funkhauser chases down the loose ball but loses it to Rogers of Harrison. Rogers will drive. He will throw it up, and we're going to have a blocking foul called on Carter Van Wanzeel. Carter was trying to draw the charge, but just didn't quite get squared up and didn't have his feet set. It is a 16 foul against Avon, and Rogers will be back to the line where he hit his first 2 free throws, and he will have 2 more. That one rims out. Substitutions for Avon: Brandon Peters back in. Carter Van Wanzel will sit with 6 points and 2 fouls with 42.4 seconds remaining in the first half. Rogers has one more free throw. Going to try to cut it to a 4-point game. And that one rims out. Funkhauser with a rebound for Avon. The lead remains at 5. Should play for the final shot here. 35 seconds. Rhodes with the basketball, harassed by Rogers. Down to Funkhauser. Funkhauser back to Rhodes. Right side to McHugh. Over, wide open from the corner. Halfway down. Comes back out. The Orioles can't get it as the shot by Peters goes halfway down, comes right back out, and coming back the other way is Mark Houston to get the bucket and make it a 3-point Oriole lead. 9 seconds remain in this first half. McHugh right side, back to Peters for 3. This one's off the side of the rim. Rogers with the loose rebound from three-quarters court, hits the backboard, but that's about all. And the teams will head to the locker room at the break with the Avon Orioles leading the Harrison Raiders by the score of 23-20. We would like to thank our corporate video sponsor, the Hendricks County Flyer, as well as the title sponsor, the Hendricks Regional Health. Thank you, Hendricks County Flyer, for allowing us to bring you Avon varsity basketball live on the web. Also, remember when listening to Superman on the radio was all that there was? Well, remember when your friends and family dining together and enjoyed it? Well, remember when bakeries were real and coffee didn't cost $4 a cup? Sweet Treats is a classic bakery and soda shop that does remember when. Serving delicious bakery and food items in Avon 6 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sweet Treats is located at US 36 in Dan Jones, right behind the CVS Pharmacy. Bring in a ticket stub from any Avon sporting event or mention you heard this ad right here tonight, and you can receive 10% off your next purchase. Stop in for a visit and let Sweet Treats take you way back when. Also, if you're a business owner with or without employees, you're probably wondering about your payroll. What about taxes, child support, auditing, Social Security? Well, it can be a bit overwhelming, but we've got the answer for you. The Payroll Department Incorporated. The Payroll Department Incorporated can help you put your mind at ease where all these problems are concerned. Locally owned and operated for over 20 years. Call today at 852-2568 or stop by the Payroll Department Incorporated, 701 North Green Street in Brownsburg. Also want to give big thanks out to XRBRadio.com. They are the voice of Hendricks County. Make sure you tune in every Monday at 10 a.m. Bob Jenkins has his 50s flashback. That's on XRBRadio.com, the voice of Hendricks County. Check back with us here in about 6 minutes. I'll have you some halftime stats. In the meantime, take a look at the Avon dance team right now out on center court. Halftime at the arena at Avon High School, and the Orioles lead the Harrison Raiders by the score 23-20. My name is Brian Scott. Take a look at some of our halftime statistics. Avon has led throughout a good portion of this game at times. Harrison was able to get the lead on a Bobby Rogers layup right at the close at the end of the first quarter to take a 10-9 lead. But Avon outscored the Raiders 14-10 in the second quarter, and they take a 3-point lead into the locker room at the half as both teams begin to make their way back out onto the court. Leading scorers for the Raiders with 10 points, he leads all scorers, is Bobby Rogers, 4 points each for Mark Houston and Noah Thomas, 2 points each for Cole Smith. For the Orioles, balanced all throughout, Connor Funkhauser has 6 points, 5 points for Carter Van Wanzel, 4 points for Aaron Bodie, 3 points each for Brandon Peters and Jordan Rhodes, and Sam Bloom has a bucket to his credit. While we have a moment, let's take you in and around of what's happening in the Hoosier Crossroads Conference. I do have one score of a game that is at the half, and it's 8 miles up the road. As the Brownsburg Bulldogs, of course, Ronald Norad, former Butler standout, in his first year at the helm of head coach of the Bulldogs, they welcomed a Zionsville team, the only undefeated team in the Hoosier Crossroads Conference. Zionsville entered today's game with a record of 3-0, but this game is tied at halftime at 20-all. Let's take a look at the Hoosier Crossroads Conference standings at this young point of the season. It is Zionsville, as I mentioned, the only undefeated team in the HCC, 3-0 overall, 1-0 in conference play. Hamilton Southeastern is also 1-0 in conference play, but they are 4-1 on the season, though they are ranked number 7 in Class 4A. The Fishers Tigers are 2-3 overall, 1-1 in conference play. Then you have a set of 4 teams: Harrison, McCutcheon, Noblesville, Lafayette, 5, and of course Avon. This is all their first night in HCC action. Harrison, McCutcheon, they have records of 3-1. Noblesville is 2-1. Lafayette, 2-2, and then 3 teams round out with overall records of 1-2. Avon, Brownsburg, and Westfield. Brownsburg and Westfield are both 0-1 in conference play. Action tonight going on in the HCC. Hamilton Southeastern is having a boys-girls doubleheader at Noblesville. Westfield is at Lafayette Jefferson. As I mentioned, Zionsville is out Brownsburg. We're ready for second half action here from the arena, as it'll be the same starting 5 to take the court for Coach Young: Jordan Rhodes, Carter Van Wanzel, Levi Bailey, Aaron Bodie, and Connor Funkhauser. And the same is true for Mark Reinhardt, Bobby Rogers. Bobby Rogers, Cole Smith, Jacob Bauer, and now we're going to have an over and back call as Rogers, not paying attention where he was, stepped over the end line. Cole Smith, Jacob Bauer, Mark Houston, and Noah Thomas was the starting 5 to begin the second half. That call went against Avon, as I was mentioning, the Raiders. So the over and back call went against Avon, and the Raiders now have the basketball. Just underway, second half, as Rogers has the basketball, and the Raiders trail by 3. They feed down into the low post, but now kick it back up to Rogers, guarded by Jordan Rhodes. Rogers tries to go baseline. He's going to be called for steps, as he tried to force it between Rhodes and Aaron Bodie, and no foul called, but a turnover will give the ball back to Avon. Rhodes right side into the hands of Bodie. Bodie looking down low to Van Wanzel. Instead will move it out to Funkhauser, top of the key, back right side to Bodie. Gives it to Carter, Carter to Rhodes. Looked at Funkhauser now. Rogers dropped it, and they gave it into the hands of Aaron Bodie, and as Bodie made a move, he's going to be called for the player control foul. Second personal against Aaron. First team foul against the Orioles in the second half. And the Raiders will have the basketball as we've played a minute here into the third quarter, and neither team has been able to score. 23-20, that's what our score was at the half, and it was what it is now with 6:52 left to go, third quarter. This is Houston with the basketball back up top to Smith, and they move it around. Rogers to Bauer, back over to Smith as they move it around. Rogers looks for some room. He does a little floater in the lane, and Bobby Rogers has his 12th point, and the deficit has been cut to 1 as Orioles with a 1-point lead in the basketball. Still looking for their first points here in the second half. And Aaron Bodie's going to watch himself dribble that one right off of his leg and out of bounds and give the ball back to Harrison. So the Raiders look to retake the lead. They had it early in the second quarter before Avon was able to stretch the lead to as much as 7 at one point. Rogers dribbling the basketball, guarded by Jordan Rhodes. Kicks it out. This is Houston, back to Rogers. Rogers trying to make a move. Now he'll kick it back out to Houston. Houston to Smith. And they move the ball around to Thomas. Back to Houston. Houston's three from the corner is no good. Van Wansel with a rebound. Gives it to Jordan Rhodes. Rhodes pull-up jumper is short. And the rebound's controlled by Cole Smith of Harrison. Smith with the basketball goes right side. And they give it back to Smith. Smith will throw it back up on the feet from Jacob Bauer. And he won't be able to get the ball to drop through the hoop, but he will head to the free throw line. As the foul will be called against Levi Bailey. That's his second team foul. And so at the line shooting a pair is Cole Smith, where he hits the first of 2. Substitutions once again, and now we will just simply have a timeout. With 5:39 left to go in this third quarter, that first free throw has tied this game at 23. You are watching Orioles basketball on Audio Sports Online, the Hendricks County Flyer, and XRBRadio.com. If you're a business owner with or without employees, you're probably wondering about your payroll. Well, what about taxes, child support, auditing, Social Security? Well, it can be a bit overwhelming, but we got the answer for you. The Payroll Department Incorporated. The Payroll Department Incorporated can help put your mind at ease where all these problems are concerned. Locally owned and operated for over 20 years. Call them today at 852-2568 or stop by the Payroll Department Incorporated at 701 North Green Street in Brownsburg. Cole Smith will try to give the Raiders the lead again with the free throw, which he does, and Harrison back up on top as they lead Avon 24-23 with 5:38 left to go in this third quarter of play. Orioles have watched Harrison jump out to a 4-0 run to begin this third quarter. And we are now at 5:25 left to go in this third quarter. Bodie to Rhodes. Jordan picks up his dribble, gives it to Connor, and Funkhauser looks at Bailey for a second, drops it off to Van Wansel. Van Wansel will drive. His pull-up jumper just in front of the free throw line is up and good. Carter now has 7 points and back to a 1-point lead. And quickly, as Houston drives and leaves it long on the rim, it'll go off of an Oriole out of bounds, and Harrison will retain possession. 5 minutes even left to go in this third quarter. A 1-point lead for Avon as Harrison inbounds the basketball. And they get it into the hands of Jacob Payne. To Houston, to Smith. They go down low. As Smith's turnaround jumper is no good. Flying in and getting the rebound was Bauer, and he tries to put it back up and in. We'll have a whistle and a foul called against Avon. It'll be against Jordan Rhodes. That's his first, but it's already the third team foul against Avon in the second half. As Jacob Bauer, who is scoreless in this game, makes his first attempt at the free throw line, hits the first of 2. Jordan will leave as Jordan Klein will re-enter the lineup for the Orioles. We're tied at 25, and Bauer has one more free throw. Second free throw is good, and the Raiders are back up in front, 26-25. Klein into the front court, gives it to Van Wansel. Van Wansel right side to Funkhauser. Thought about it, but pulled it back down. Here's Funkhauser, gets the ball back. His little layup runner is a little short, and the ball will come down off of Van Wansel, and the ball will head back into the hands of the Harrison Raiders, who lead by a point. Payne with the basketball, working against Klein. Right side to Houston. He will catch and shoot. And just in front of the arc, Mark Houston has his 6th point. It's a 3-point now Raider lead. Orioles only have 1 point or 1 bucket to their credit, as that one by Bodie is well short. As Sam Bloom will come in to replace Aaron Bodie, so the Orioles cold shooting here to begin this third quarter. As they have watched the Raiders go on an 8-2 run to begin this third quarter, and now getting the basketball was Mark Houston. He shoveled the feet, and once again the turnover bug via traveling bites the Raiders. They lead by 3. It's the biggest lead of the night for Harrison. And the Orioles look to do something about that as Klein working against Payne. This is Sam Bloom, and now he will dribble it off of his leg, and that turnover will give the ball back to Harrison. Both teams having problems not turning the ball over. Jacob Bauer leaves as Zeb Halsema returns to the lineup for Coach Reinhardt's Raiders. 28-25, Raiders with the lead, 3:30 left to go third quarter. Driving in the lane and then kicking it out to Houston as the Raiders look to move. Here's a baseline drive, and laying it off and into the hands of Jacob Payne is Cole Smith on a nifty little baseline drive, and the Raiders increase their lead to 5 with 3:10 left to go third quarter. Van Wansel shot fake, pulls it down, but stolen away by Harrison. Driving, laying it up off the glass is Jacob Payne, and that's all that Coach Jason Young can take, as now he calls a timeout with 3 minutes left to go in the third quarter. And the Raiders have their biggest lead of this contest as they lead Avon 32-25. You're watching Avon Oriole basketball on Audio Sports Online, xrbradio.com, and the Hendricks County Flyer. Brian Scott back with you from the O-Arena at Avon High School. The Raiders have jumped out on a 12-2 run to begin this third quarter. They have their biggest lead of the night against Avon, 32-25. Only a Carter Van Wansel bucket has kept the Orioles from being shut out here in this third quarter. As once again, the Raiders have gotten some production all over the court. They are 4 of 4 from the charity stripe here in this third quarter. And out of the timeout called by Coach Young, he's going to look to see if the Orioles can do a better job of taking care of the basketball. Out of the timeout, Sam Bloom, Connor Funkhauser, Carter Van Wansel, Jordan Klein, and Levi Bailey. Those are your 5 Orioles on the court. Meanwhile, Jacob Payne, Cole Smith, Taylor Snodgrass, Jeb Halsema, and Mark Houston, those are the 5 for the Raiders. They try to feed down low to Bailey, poke back out to Bloom. Bloom right side to Van Wansel. Van Wansel gets his man in the air. His jumper from the free throw line is no good, and we'll have a whistle, and they'll say it went out of bounds off of the Raiders. Bobby Rogers returns for the Raiders, and he will take over for Cole Smith. 32-25, Raiders with the lead as the Orioles look to break out of this shooting slump they've began the third quarter with. Van Wansel has the basketball to Bloom. They move it around. This is Klein. Klein back to Van Wansel to Bloom. Bloom with a shot fake. He's cut off to Funkhauser. Back to Bloom. Klein will be up top. Good defense being employed by the Raiders as they are sticking with that basketball. Here is Funkhauser driving in the lane. Nice little scoop layup. And Connor has 8 points. And the lead's been cut to 5 with 2 minutes left to go third quarter. Houston with the basketball. He'll leave it up to Halsema, and they'll go back to Rogers. So good patience by the Orioles, and now we'll have a whistle and a foul as driving on Klein is Jacob Payne, and they'll call Jordan Klein for his second personal, fourth team foul. Mark Houston will leave as Cole Reniker back into the game for the Raiders. Still a 5-point lead for the Raiders with the basketball. Minute 41. Here's a three on its way. That's no good. Funkhauser with a rebound. Orioles into the front court to Van Wansel. Van Wansel drives in the lane. Little floater, drops, and a whistle, and they'll say it goes against the Raiders. So Van Wansel gets credited with a basket, and he's headed to the free throw line. He could cut it to a 2-point game. Zeb Halsema will be called for his third. It's only the first team foul against Harrison here in the second half. Halsema will leave as Jacob Bauer will have to return to the lineup, and Van Wansel, who has made his only free throw attempt so that in this contest, is back at the line to convert the three-point play and make it a 2-point lead as he will take a seat. And Jordan Rhodes is back in. Quickly, Harrison gets it up as Rogers finds Reniker in the left low blocks, and quickly, just like that, the lead's back to 4 for the Raiders. Driving baseline is Funkhauser. Little turn up off the glass, in. It counts, and Funkhauser's going to the line. We'll see who they bring the foul against for Harrison. Jacob Bauer will be hit with his second personal as Noah Thomas comes in for Talon Snodgrass. And Funkhauser for the three-point play is good. It's a 1-point game, 34-33. A minute 6 left to go, third quarter, and now it's stolen away. Here's Sam Bloom, drives, and it is a player control foul. Coach Young was hoping that wouldn't be the case, but he will not argue it too vociferously, and for Sam Bloom, it's his first personal, 15 foul. Here's Rogers. They go the other way, and just as they did before, but Reniker this time cannot finish the play. But a whistle will stop, and we'll have a foul called against Avon. It's against Levi Bailey. That's his third, but it's the 16 foul, against Avon. And Reniker is at the line to shoot a pair. First free throw is good. Aaron Bodie back in as Levi Bailey will take a seat with 3 personal fouls. Levi yet to score in this game. 52.8 seconds remain, and Reniker with one more free throw, and he canned them both. He now has 4 points. It's a 3-point lead for the Raiders. 49 seconds remain in the third quarter. Here's Funkhauser. Funkhauser still looking as the clock's down to 40 seconds. Right side to Bodie. Bodie watches Klein cut through the lane, but will keep it back out. Here's Bloom back up top to Funkhauser. Funkhauser right side to Klein. To Bodie. Bodie steps up, and now he'll just take the shot from the left elbow. It's no good. Bloom is there. He can't get the put back, but he'll head to the line. Jacob Payne will pick up his third. It's only the third team foul against Harrison, and it'll send Bloom to the line for 2. Sam misses the first of 2. As Mark Houston comes in, he will take over for Jacob Payne. Sam with one more free throw. That one's no good, and the rebound's cleared by Bauer of the Raiders. Raiders with a 3-point lead. They'll play for the final shot of the third quarter with 12 seconds remaining. Here is Rogers. He's already had a buzzer beater to end the first quarter. Drives right side in the lane. Little scoop with the left hand. It's no good. Bodie with a rebound, and now we have a whistle. And traveling violation. As I say, Bodie shuffled the feet. And the Raiders will have the basketball in their own front court with a second and a half left to see if they can pull something off of the inbound. 36-33, Raiders with a lead. They will trigger the inbounds from underneath as Jacob Bauer will be the one throwing it in from the baseline. Bauer looks, goes right side, has Rogers wide open, and for the second time, count the basket at the buzzer. And it is a 2-point basket. As that's what the scorekeeper is asking, 2 or 3. As they will, we are still waiting for them to tell us whether that was a 2 or a 3, and I don't think the officials saw. They were so concerned with taking care of something, and they will count that as a 3. So Bobby Rogers, for the second time, has hit a big basket at the buzzer, and the Raiders will head to the fourth quarter with a 6-point lead. I'd like to thank our corporate video sponsor, the Hendricks County Flyer, as well as the title sponsor, Hendricks Regional Health. Thank you, Hendricks County Flyer, for allowing us to bring you Avon Varsity Basketball live on the web. Do you remember old-fashioned values, good food, and good times? Do you remember an ice cream cone on a warm summer's eve and a cherry Coke from the fountain at the corner drugstore? Well, Sweet Treats is a classic bakery and soda shop that does remember when. Serving delicious bakery and food items in Avon 6 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Sweet Treats is located at US 36 in Dan Jones, right behind the CVS Pharmacy. Bring in a ticket stub from any Avon sporting event or mention that you heard this ad here tonight during tonight's game and receive 10% off your next purchase. Stop in for a visit and let Sweet Treats take you way back when. We begin quarter number 4 with the Raiders up by 6. Bobby Rogers with his second buzzer beater to end a period. This one was a 3. He now has 15 points. It's a 6-point lead for the Raiders, and off the curl, he will hit, and he's now up to 17. The lead is now 8, 41-33, as Bodie gets trapped underneath. We'll try to set up the lineups in just a second. Here's Klein to Bodie. Aaron drives in the lane. Little pull-up jumper is up and good. Aaron now has 6 points. And it's a 41-35 Harrison lead. And getting the bucket is Mark Houston is down in the low blocks, and he has a rather easy time of being able to put that ball in the hoop from that position. And the lead's back to 8. Here's Jordan Rhodes, catch and shoot, shots no good. Rebound comes down to still loose, and finally the Raiders come away with it. Raiders look to push it to a double-digit advantage. As Rogers, who has been their hero tonight, has the basketball, and we'll have another traveling violation. He wanted to lay it down into the low blocks to Taylor Snodgrath, but shuffled his foot just one too many times. Lots of substitutions on the court right now. For the Orioles, it's Carter Van Wansel, Jordan Klein, Connor Funkhauser, Jordan Rhodes, and Aaron Bodie. Those are your 5 out on the court right now for the Orioles. 6:30 remains in this contest. It's an 8-point Raider lead. Here's Funkhauser, left wing. Makes a nice move, drives baseline, puts it up, off the glass and in. 13 points for Connor Funkhauser, as now the Orioles with some full court pressure, and the Raiders throw it away. Jacob Bauer was looking at Mark Houston over on the left sideline, and not exactly sure where he was going to throw that basketball, but he threw it out of bounds, and Orioles are now looking to cut into this Raider lead once again. Funkhauser up top to Bodie. Bodie back to Van Wansel. When Van Wansel fields Bodie in the low post, back to Carter. Carter, shot fake, gives it out from the right elbow. It's up and it's good by Aaron Bodie. And now we are going to have a timeout called by the Raiders with 5:52 left to go in the fourth quarter. Avon has cut into the deficit. They trailed by 8. They've cut it in half to 4. Raiders lead 43-39. This is Orioles basketball on ASO. Back at Avon High School, Brian Scott with you with 5:52 left to go in the fourth quarter. Avon trails 43-39. Just a few moments ago, they trailed by 8. They now trail by only 4. As Rogers gets it into the front court, and they find driving through the lane Jacob Bauer. His little runner in front of the free throw line's no good, and the Orioles looking to cut this to a one-possession game. Funkhauser travels. He was looking to either give the ball up to Klein or Van Wansel, and drug his pivot foot. Cole Reniker coming in for Mark Houston for the Raiders, as Rogers will bring it up into the front court as the Raiders still hold on to a 4-point lead. And now Aaron Bodie trying to deny the pass to Noah Thomas. Will knock it out of bounds and will stay down here in the Raider front court. Other action, Brownsburg currently leading Zionsville at last report, 31-24. That would be a big feather in the cap of Ronald Nora to knock off the Eagles tonight. That game is taking place in Brownsburg. Meanwhile, our attention's right here at the Arena, as the Raiders have a 4-point lead with 5:22 remaining. Rogers, as the Raiders move it around, is Reniker with the basketball, and Reniker drug his pivot foot. He's going to look over to his head coach, Mark Reinhardt, and Mark Reinhardt's going to let him know it's been a travel all night long. You cannot drag that pivot foot. Connor Funkhauser is going to get a breather as Brandon Peters comes back in for the Orioles. Orioles still looking to make this a one-possession game as Jordan Klein dribbles the basketball. Gives it up to Jordan Rhodes. Rhodes finds Bodie at the high post. Aaron steps through, tries to step through the double team. He's going to be bailed out as the foul is going to go against the Raiders. And we'll see who they call. It'll be the 15 foul against, and it'll go against Jacob Bauer, and that'll be his third, team fourth. And Aaron Bodie is at the line. And he misses the first of 2. Aaron had 4 points in the first half. He has 4 points here in the fourth quarter. But he misses a big free throw, and he's looking to cut it. He can still cut it to a one-possession game with a made free throw here, which he does. It's a 3-point Raider advantage, 43-40, with 5 minutes left to go in regulation. Bobby Rogers with the basketball. He leads all scorers with 17 points. Rogers looks at the low post. He got 2 players standing next to each other, so they have to split. And Reniker makes a move, kicks it out to Rogers. Rogers drives, lays it off glass. No good. Bodie with a rebound for Avon. Avon can tie it with a 3. They'll look for the 2. Here's Van Wansel. Bodie back to Van Wansel. A three in the corner is no good. And flying through the air, knocking it out of bounds is Brandon Peters for the Orioles, and the Raiders will have the basketball. Noah Thomas will leave. Snodgrass is back in. Talon Snodgrass. 43-40, 4:22 in regulation is what remains. As Rogers, guarded by Klein, tries to feed the high post to Snodgrass. Snodgrass from the elbow backs it out. Here's Reneker for three. That's too strong, and Klein has the rebound. Outlet pass to Peters. Peters chases it down and will back it out, and the Orioles will set up the offense. Here's Van Wansel for three, and we are tied. Van Wansel with 13 points, and we are tied at 43. 3:44 remains. Trapped underneath, they kick it out to Reneker in the corner. He'll drive, jump stop, shots up, no good, and putting it back up and getting the foul is Cole Smith. Aaron Bodie is going to pick up his third personal as Talon Snodgrass is at the line shooting a pair. Snodgrass' first one rims out. Getting a report from Brownsburg, they are tied at 43 as well. The difference there is there's only 4 seconds as now they are heading into overtime at Brownsburg. Meanwhile, Snodgrass looking to give the Raiders the lead again. He does with a free throw, and it's a 1-point Raider lead. 3:30 left to go, fourth quarter. Klein drives. He's going to be swatted from behind. No, they're going to say a foul is going to be called against Snodgrass. That is his second. It's the 15th foul, and it's going to send Jordan Klein to the line to shoot a pair. Jordan is scoreless in this contest. His first free throw is good to tie the game at 44. Snodgrass will leave, and Noah Thomas returns as Brandon Peters leaves, and Connor Funkhauser returns for Coach Young's Orioles. Klein can give the Orioles the lead with a free throw, and he does. 45-44, Avon back out in front. Rogers, he's hit 2 big buzzer beaters, and he leads all scorers with 17. Gives it up to Smith. Smith down low, gives the ball up to Bauer. Bauer's shot no good, but the putback is up and in by Noah Thomas. Thomas with 6 points, a 1-point lead back in the favor of the Raiders. Here's a nice baseline drive. Rhodes trying to get Carter Van Wansel over on the far side of the court for an open three, but it's poked out of bounds by Harrison, and the Orioles, Van Wansel will trigger the inbounds. He finds Rhodes. Rhodes drives right side, little right hand floater is up and good. Jordan Rhodes with 5 points. The lead exchanges once again, with the Orioles out in front 47-46. Rogers guarded by Klein, crosses over, tries to once again. He will give the ball up to Thomas. To Payne, back to Rogers. Rogers for 3, that's short. And the ball is going to be finally tracked down by Thomas of the Raiders. He will get Rogers. Rogers will just get into the lane. He had 2 Orioles in front of him, and in the end, they're going to call traveling against Bobby Rogers. So once again, another traveling violation against the Raiders. Gives the Orioles the basketball back, but this time the Orioles have a 1-point lead. Rhodes gets around a Funkhauser screen. Drives right side, lays it up off the glass with a right hand. Jordan Rhodes, 4 points in the quarter, 7 points in the game. A 3-point lead for the Orioles. Raiders have the basketball. Jacob Payne, 1:50 left to go in regulation. Both teams have been trading the lead back and forth here in this fourth quarter. Bobby Rogers works on Klein, and they will move it around. From 14 foot, no good is the shot. And Funkhauser has the rebound for Avon. He will take it, lay it off the glass. It's no good. Rhodes gets the loose ball, and now we're going to have a whistle and a foul. And it's going to go against Harrison. It goes against Cole Smith, his first. It is the 16th foul. And Harrison will take a timeout with 1:27 left to go in this fourth period. And Avon will have the basketball out of the timeout, leading 49-46. If you're a business owner with or without employees, you're probably wondering about your payroll. What about taxes, child support, auditing, Social Security? It can be a bit overwhelming, but we've got the answer for you. The Payroll Department Incorporated. The Payroll Department Incorporated can help put your mind at ease where all of these problems are concerned. Locally owned and operated for over 20 years. Call them today at 852-2568 or stop by the Payroll Department Incorporated, 701 North Green Street in Brownsburg. Brian Scott back at the O-Arena at Avon High School. We have had one Jim Dandy of a game here, especially in this fourth quarter. Both teams exchanging the lead back and forth. And right now it's the Orioles with a 3-point advantage. Both teams will be shooting the bonus on the next foul. The possession arrow it favors currently Avon. Jordan Rhodes to trigger the inbound, and before he has a chance, we're going to have a whistle and a foul called on the Raiders, and that's going to put Avon at the line. Noah Thomas is called for a hold on Aaron Bodie, and Bodie's at the line to shoot the 1-and-1. Aaron hits the first of two. Hits the first, he'll get the bonus, pardon me. But the lead is now a two-possession game, 50-46. 1:27 left to go, fourth quarter. Aaron would like to push it to 5, and that one goes halfway down and comes back out. It remains a 4-point Oriole advantage. 1:22 left, fourth quarter. Rogers gives it up. This is Payne. Payne back to Rogers. And Rogers will give it back to Payne, guarded by Jordan Rhodes. 1:10. 4-point lead for Avon, 50-46. Payne makes a move, goes right side, and he will kick it up top as back to Rogers, and Rogers travels. He tried to do a little ball fake and drug the foot. And that is going to be the story of this basketball game for Coach Mark Reinhardt if he has to make that long trip all the way back to Lafayette. And he finds his Raiders just on a few points shy on the scoreboard, as the number of turnovers committed by Harrison, and particularly traveling violations, is just almost stupefying to ponder. Rhodes gets it inbound to Klein, and Klein's going to be immediately fouled by Bobby Rogers. That'll be Rogers first, but we'll head to the other end of the court as Klein's going to be shooting a 1-and-1. It is the 8th team foul against Harrison. Zeb Halsema will leave as Cole Reneker, a better three-point shooter, is back in for Coach Reinhardt's Raiders. Meanwhile, Klein, front end of the one-and-run, rolls, rattles, and drops. Jordan Klein got the kind roll. He has been clutch here at the line here in the fourth quarter as he's made all 3 of his free throws. He'll have one more. It's a 5-point game, and make it 6 as Klein calmly steps up and hits 4 big free throws in the fourth quarter as we are under a minute left to play in regulation. Driving in the lane, Redeker is blocked by Bodie, and trying to save it is Jordan Rhodes, but he stepped a foot on the baseline. And the Raiders will maintain possession, trailing by 6 with 48.2 seconds remaining in this fourth quarter. They trigger their inbound to Rogers. Rogers, they move it around. Raiders can't take a whole lot of time. They trail by 2 possessions as they are trying to set this up, and they lose it as the ball is stolen, then stolen right back. Bodie has the loose ball. He's going to be tied up by Cole Smith, and the possession arrow will favor the Avon Orioles now with 33.8 seconds remaining. In Brownsburg, they are up by 2 against Zionsville with a minute left in overtime. And as Carter Van Wanzel rushes it up into the front court, he's going to be fouled to head to the free throw line. But Jacob Payne, that's his 4th. It is the 19th foul, and we're going to have a timeout with 29.2 seconds left, and the Orioles up by 6. This is Orioles basketball on ASO. Welcome back to the arena at Avon High School. Brian Scott with you. We've had a good one here tonight. As a fourth quarter, we watched the lead go back and forth between Avon and Harrison, but Avon now doing a good job from the free throw line, especially Jordan Klein, who had no points coming into the fourth quarter. All Jordan's done is gone 4 for 4 from the charity stripe, as the young sophomore has done a good job to keep the Orioles out in front. And it'll be Carter Van Wanzel heading back to the line, as it is the 9th team foul against Harrison, so it's still a 1-1 situation. But 29.2 seconds remain, and one free throw here will make it a 3-possession game. Van Wanzel is 2 for 2, and he hits the first of 2, and that's a big one. 14 points for Carter. It's now a 3-possession game, 53-46, a 7-point lead. And he can make it 8 and do all but put the dagger in the hearts of Harrison, which he does. 27 seconds remain, an 8-point lead for Avon. Van Renneker travels. Renneker traveling. And I do not have those type of official stats, but I'm sure if we were to get those, it would just absolutely blow the mind of Coach Mark Reinhardt of Harrison. 20 seconds remain, and Carter Van Wanzel is going to be fouled by Cade Renneker. And for Renneker, that's his first, but it is the 10th team foul against Harrison. And Van Wanzel, who just hit 2 big free throws to make it a 3-possession game, is back at the line. So far, Carter Van Wanzel 5 for 5 from the charity stripe. And as I mentioned, Jordan Klein 4 for 4. Second free throw is up. It is also good, and it's a 10-point Oriole lead with 17 seconds left, as Avon's going to pick up their first HCC victory, as that 3 is no good. Harrison throws it into the backcourt. It will not be an over and back. They will get it in. 3 seconds remain. They'll get the ball down low and credit the basket to Jacob Payne, but that's not going to be enough, as the Avon Orioles snap a 2-game losing streak. They win their first HCC conference game of the season, and they defeat Harrison by the score 56-48. Keep it right here. I'll have some final stats in just a moment. This is Orioles basketball on ASO. Brian Scott back with you from the O-Arena at Avon High School, where the Avon Orioles use some clutch free throw shooting down the stretch, and they knock off Harrison by the score of 56-48. This was a game that went back and forth throughout much of the contest, especially there in the fourth quarter. Each team managed to get some runs. For Avon, they were up by as much as 10 points, and for Harrison, they were as much as 8 points. But Avon goes on a 23-9 run in the fourth quarter to pull away as they defeat Harrison, and once again by the score 56-48. Here's our final stats for the Harrison Raiders. They were led by Bobby Rogers, 17 points, 8 points for Mark Houston, 6 points each from Jacob Payne and Noah Thomas, 4 points from Cade Reneker and Cole Smith, 2 points from Jacob Bauer, 1 point from Taylor Snodgrass. Zeb Halsema played. He did not score. For the Avon Orioles, tying for game-high honors with 17 points was Carter Van Wanzel, and he had 7 of those in that fourth quarter. 13 points for Connor Funkhauser, 10 points from Aaron Bodie, 7 points from Jordan Rhodes, 4 points from Jordan Klein, and we can't say enough about that young man stepped up and hit some big free throws coming down the stretch in that fourth quarter. 3 points for Brandon Peters, 2 points for Sam Bloom, and Cress Kimbrough, Jack McHugh, and Levi Paley. They all played. They did not score. It was Harrison leading by the score of 10-9 after the first quarter. It was Avon leading 23-20 at the half. It was 39-33 in favor of Harrison at the end of the third quarter, but Avon goes on to win it by the score of 56-48. For the Orioles, they are now 2-2 on the season, 1-0 in the Hoosier Crossroads Conference. The Raiders fall to 3-2, and they are now 0-1 in the HCC. I'd like to thank our corporate's video sponsor, the Hendricks County Flyer, as well as their title sponsor, Hendricks Regional Health. Thank you, Hendricks County Flyer, for allowing us to bring you Avon varsity basketball live on the web. Also want to thank Sweet Treats. Remember when listening to Superman on the radio was all there was? Remember when your friends and family dining together and enjoyed it? Remember when bakeries were real and coffee didn't cost $4 a cup? Well, Sweet Treats is a classic bakery and soda shop that does remember when. Serving delicious bakery and food items in Avon 6 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sweet Treats is located at US 36 and Dan Jones right behind the CVS Pharmacy. Bring in a ticket stub from any Avon sporting event or mention that you heard their ad on tonight's broadcast and receive 10% off your next purchase. Stop in for a visit and let Sweet Treats take you way back when. And finally, if you're a business owner with or without employees, you're probably wondering about your payroll. What about taxes, child support, auditing, Social Security? It can be a bit overwhelming, but we've got the answer for you, the Payroll Department Incorporated. The Payroll Department Incorporated can help put your mind at ease where all these problems are concerned. Locally owned and operated for over 20 years. Call them today at 852-2568 or stop by the Payroll Department Incorporated at 701 North Green Street in Brownsburg. The Avon Orioles snap a 2-game losing streak. They defeat Harrison tonight by the score of 56-48. Our next Oriole broadcast here on Audio Sports Online is 1 week from tonight, and it doesn't get any bigger. We mentioned the Brownsburg Bulldogs. They were playing Zionsville, and it looks like Brownsburg is going to knock off the Eagles tonight. A big win for head coach Ronald Norred's Brownsburg Bulldogs. As the Bulldogs win tonight, they will play. There will be a game 1 week from tonight. It will be Avon versus Brownsburg. That game is at Brownsburg, and you can watch all the action right here on Audio Sports Online. Tip-off for that game is at 7:30. Once again, your final score, Avon knocks off Harrison by the score of 56-48. This is Brian Scott saying thanks for joining me tonight. Look forward to seeing you next time on Avon Oriole Basketball. Until then, for the Hendricks County Flyer, XRBRadio.com, the voice of Hendricks County and Audio Sports Online, we wish you a very, very pleasant good evening.